What's up, Inkie peeps? It's Adele from Inkie Quill, and today I am having a play in my junk journal. I have really missed my junk journal. I finished one. When did I finish that? Probably towards the start of this year sometime. And I haven't made another one. And so I've been kind of flailing around because I do enjoy it's different than having a normal art journal to play in. Let me know in the comments if you feel the same way, if you do junk journaling and art journaling. I appreciate that there's already like a bit of a background to play with, and that the pages aren't so blank and empty, because sometimes when you're feeling a bit of a slump in your creative mojo, it can be quite difficult to face a blank page. And so that's why I really appreciate my junk journal at those times when my mojo's lacking, or I just feel like having a play with something that's a bit different. So this is a new junk journal I made. I did a sneak peek of it over on my Instagram, I think about a month ago. I think I made it. And this, I think, is the first process video that I've done with it. So the world of YouTube hasn't seen it yet, but it's a nice size. It's a bigger size. It's quite similar to the Dina Wakley Media Journal, and I wanted to make one that was a little bit bigger, I really enjoyed that Dina Wakley Media Journal, except for all of the pages. I like the size of it, but I didn't like the pages. So you can see there, I just did something I haven't done before, which was whipping out my brayer. That roly poly thing is called a brayer, and I use it for my jelly plate. But I felt like just smashing on some colour onto this page. And if you do have a brayer, it's a really great tool to just put a large surface area of paint down in one go, and it gives it a bit of a texture that it reminds me of cake. Like it looks a little bit crumbly sometimes if you have a lot of paint on there. It gives a bit of a crumbly look, but it doesn't flake off, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So today I'm also doing something I haven't done before in a journal, and that's use a cut file. Oh, I braved my silhouette, and well, I shouldn't say I braved. Aaron braved. He did all the technological things, and I helped him by telling him what I wanted, and he taught me how to do them. So now I'll be able to do them myself. But you guys know, I break the technology, and so I needed a bit of backup with my first little lesson in cut file cutting, and all of the ones that I am using are from Paige Evans' Facebook group, and they're free because I didn't want to pay for any to start off with in case they didn't work out or I didn't like them. But I love the way this one turned out. So I did this a bit of a long, complicated way. I made this little background. So you can see I'm using very cheap paint, kids acrylic paint from the $2 shop. This fluoro pink is my favourite. It's by a company called Reno Arts, I think. Aussie peeps, if you're ever in like Hot Dollar or Dollar King, that's where I usually get it from. And the hot pink is glorious, and it costs $2 or $2.99 depending on where you go. And I've been using it everywhere. So I just did this mottly pink, and I just used some white gesso for the white. I've been doing that a lot recently, and I really enjoy doing that. The page on the left was a jelly print that I made, and that jelly print and this journal are actually part of my junk journal class that I am still editing. Yes, I know it's taken forever, but I've had a few setbacks just with life. My nan has been in hospital, and life is just a little crazy. But I am hoping to have that up very soon, and I will do another YouTube live stream when that comes out as well, hopefully within the next month or 6 weeks or so. But I had my stencil already dirty, and you saw before I braided in my Use It Up journal. You guys have all seen my Use It Up journal before. It's a great way to use up some paint, but also just have a bit more I don't know, unstructured play, I guess is the best way to describe it. When I slap paint in my art, in my use it up journal, I know that I'm not finishing that page right then. I'm literally just putting some paint and mixed media in the background. And so it's fun to just have a little bit more freedom and just kind of play and go back to that feeling that I feel like I had as a kid, and I've seen in kids that I've taught before, where they just are making for the sake of making. They're not making for the end result per se. They're just putting paint down and just going with the flow as it progresses. So this is a page in my current art journal. That's the 8x8 Dilutions Creative Journal. I've started a new one. I finished the past one, which will have a flip on YouTube at some point this year. I have pre-scheduled videos, so I'm not sure when that one's going in. But I started a new one because I had it in my stash, and I'm really trying to use up the things in my stash first before buying anything new, especially with Bub on the way. But I've been really enjoying that size. It's not too big, but it's not too small. It's the Goldilocks of sizes. Now this took me a while, so I've sped this next part up 800 times fast. So, well, it's 800%, sorry, so it's 8 times fast. But I wanted the letters to stand out a little bit more. They weren't standing out enough. I glued it down just with my Scotch tacky glue. And so I was going to just do a black outline around the outside, and I coloured in the bits in between the letters. But then I wasn't liking it. I thought it looked funny. I wasn't a fan. And so then I grabbed the black paint pot, and lo and behold, my black paint has turned into jelly. It's beyond repair. I know a lot of people have talked about having the same issue with the dilutions paints. I have had this happen quite a few times, and I think I have managed to save a couple of them just by putting a bit of water in the paint container. I've put a bit of water in there and left it, but this black was just beyond repair. So sadly, it was time to go, but that's okay because I had another one on hand that I think I had already opened. I think I'd already tried adding water to the other one, and it wasn't going to work. And I know there's a few other products you can add in, but it was so chunky and cluggy, it wasn't worth saving. So then I added the black paint, and I really like the way that the letters pop out a little bit more. Part of me kind of wishes that I had gone back and outlined the inside of the letters with like maybe my black food pen, which is a point, I think it's a 1.0, I think, in width. It's thick, but not paint pen thick. And I kind of wish I'd done that, but I do love the way that it looks. I was starting to feel like the black was a little plonked on there, and so to mix it in with my background, I've just grabbed some white gesso and a makeup sponge, and I'm just using a Tim Holtz stencil just to blend it in with the background a little. And I find that when in doubt, use black and white for stenciling because they're nice neutrals, and I'm carrying it across to the other page as well just to make these two pages cohesive and go together. And I really like the way this one turned out in the end. Once my stencil was wet, might as well just stencil all the things. So I grabbed this page again and just put some here, there and everywhere. My tip for stenciling, because I do get asked about it a lot, is always to pat your paint off on a plasticky or a wipeable surface. So it could be a plastic plate, if you've got a messy mat like this, if you've got a paint palette, a piece of plastic packaging, anything you can, just to disperse the paint across your sponge a little bit more and even it out a little bit, and also get some of the paint off it, because you don't really need a lot of paint. I used a bit too much here, and I knew that was going to happen, but you don't need too much paint on there. So I grabbed my white Uniball Signo Broad gel pen, and I have about 4 in my pen bucket that aren't really working anymore. I think they've run out of ink a little bit, but I have faith in them, and I always try to use them, but alas, I just need to stop, and they need to they need to go. Does anyone else hoard their pens and markers just on the off chance that maybe they might work again? Just maybe. Yeah, I'm very, very, very guilty of doing that, which is why this one has a bit of blue washi tape on the end, so I know that it's guaranteed to work, as opposed to the other ones. I also in this video managed to spread white gesso here, there and everywhere. I got it on the back of the journal here, I had it on my arm, I had it on my shirt, I somehow got it on my cheek, and then the front cover also got some gesso on it. I think right now it's sitting in gesso possibly, or that might be the next page, but I just had gesso everywhere. It was a very messy day, this one. So that's that bit done, and then on the left hand side I decided to just do some personal journaling and just kind of wrote about where life is at right now, and I did that little quote at the top, and I was just talking about that even, you know, when days are stressful or tricky, Arch manages to put a smile on my face. Now that little shock and horror there on that right side, oh my goodness, what is that? It's a human face, and it's scary. This was a jelly plate transfer that did not work. Note to self, jelly plate image transfers are very difficult on crinkly deli paper that's already been painted on one side. I probably wouldn't recommend trying one because they turn out like this and look a little bit scary. So I wanted to cover that up straight away, because it just was not working. The face to the right of her elbow looks all right, but that main one, she lost her irises and pupils. They just went, and yeah, she became a scary lady. And so, oh, yep, I don't like looking at her. So I had this image that I've had for ages. I don't know why I cut it out. She looks so unhappy, the poor little love. She needs a hug and just someone to hold her bag for her, because she looks very unhappy holding that bag. Don't you find that with model pictures sometimes? It's the going look to just look completely dissatisfied with life, and that's apparently what sells the fashion. I also grabbed a couple of images here from my collage plastic sleeve binder, and I filmed a video, if you're a new patron, on that a while ago. If you search in the featured tags, there should be one about craft organisation or organisation, and it will be in there. But I am happy to report it's working fab. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm glad that I did it, because it's making it less stressful to find my magazine images and have them kind of sorted. I have done a big cull, because, not a cull, I've used up a lot of images that were in there, because I have been working in my en masse journal finally again, and I've been using a lot of the images for that. I have 2 en masse journal videos that I have filmed that will be up shortly, and I'm inching closer. My goal is to have it done before baby girl arrives, but look, I'm going to be honest, there's some categories that have nothing on there. There are a few pages that are done, which is nice. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I have an en masse journal, the original videos on my Let's Get Inky YouTube channel, and I just stick different collections of the same type of items on a double page. So it could be all things that are red, it could be all food things, it could be all stars, just all of the same category, and it's really fun to do. But there are a couple of categories that have me stumped, so I'm thinking of changing them a little bit, maybe. So I stuck all my bits down with glue stick, and I actually am in desperate need of a new glue stick. I finished my en masse journal page and I had one page to go with the images that I'd already cut out, and my glue stick ran out, and so I desperately definitely need another one. It's one of those things that you always forget about. Like I seem to I need to write it down on my proper family grocery shopping list in order to remember to buy it, because I do forget to go out for adhesive quite a lot. It's something that I forget. So then I had this weird patch up here on just to the right of where I'm painting now, and it was the back of the journaling page that I just did, and so I didn't want to put anything too wet that would soak through to the journaling, because I still wanted to be able to see what I had written, and I just needed something light, so I grabbed some more of that hot pink paint because I'm currently obsessed with it, and I'm just putting a little bit here and there. This page is one that doesn't have a purpose. There's no real link between these images. They're just pretty pictures that I liked. And I think it's fun to sometimes do our journal pages where you just plonk a whole lot of things that you like that make you happy. Although this poor girl's sad face does not make me happy, but I do like the picture. I like her pose. But it's fun to just put stuff together and just make a page of happy things without a connection necessarily between them. So then I felt the pink was too pink. It was too bare. It needed some layers. And so I grabbed a stencil, and again, I'm using my white gesso. And I've been doing that a lot these last few months. I've just been a bit unhappy with my white paint and its coverage, especially on hot pink paint. I don't know what it is about the Dilutions white paint on top of the bubblegum pink. Not that that's what I've used here, but it just doesn't cover it very well. And so I have been using gesso a lot. It's great if you don't want to have too many, you can use gesso as white paint if you want to. I've sped this up supersonic. I'm just outlining. I didn't think you wanted to watch literally 5 minutes of outlining all of these little starburst shapes. But yeah, I've been using gesso a lot, and it's been handy. My computer hard drive has just started purring like a very content cat. So I'm sorry if you can hear this spaceship sound in the back. It's just my hard drive having a life of its own back there. I don't know what it's doing. Hopefully I'm not breaking the technology again. May have jinxed myself at the start of this video by talking about it. So then I felt that there was a very harsh line to the side of this little deer figurine, and I'm just going through my background stamps. I keep all of my background stamps just in a tub all together, and I very, very rarely ever mount them to an acrylic block. I usually just plonk them down like this, and it's nice because I find that when you put something on an acrylic block, it gives you a really even ink distribution across the stamp, whereas for background stamping I want it to look wonky and messy. I don't want to be able to see the whole rectangle image perfectly. So that's a handy tip if you're finding that your background stamping is looking too kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not systematic, but it's looking too rigid and structured. If you want it to be a little bit more loose. So I just did some stamping over that edge of that deer where the pink and blue meets the background Scary Lady page, and it just kind of softens it a little bit. And then I did a quote because you know me and my art journaling, I do love my quotes. I am going to try and do some more journaling pages like I did for that previous process that I just did, and I think a junk journal is a nice place to put that because a lot of the pages are just asking to be written on. They don't need a lot of extra things done to them. So then, to make the writing kind of look like it belonged, I wanted to do another hand drawn element, and so I just did some of my little sprinkly bits. This must be where the white gesso gets on top of everything, and if you watched my Insta story late last week, I was talking about being a bit of an over enthusiastic splatterer, and this was the layout that did it. And you can see the splattering is going crazy. My usual splattering tool of choice is the white uni chalk texture, but I had run out, and so I had to just use some watered down gesso instead. This is also when I accidentally covered a lot of the front cover with white gesso. You can see I think I plonk it down straight into that little pile I had before. But I hope you enjoyed this video. A bit of a double process. Yep, there it goes, into the gesso. A little double process playing in my junk journal, and I will be back in the next video with your August printables. See you then, guys. Bye.